हाँ जी माता जी, क्या कह रहे थे आप?
मैं कह रही थी एक्चुअली मेरी ना गाड़ी आने वाली थी, तो वो
अच्छा।
लेट हो गई। मैंने 2:30 बजे निकलना था। तो
अच्छा। अच्छा।
चांद की बात है, गाड़ी लेट हो गई तो मेरे को था मैं कैसे लाइव करूंगी, कैसे क्या करूंगी। इससे मैंने बोल रही थी कि आप कर दो।
हाँ, कोई बात नहीं माता जी, मुझे बता दिया करो।
ठीक है, थैंक यू सो मच। थैंक यू।
अभी लाइव कर दूं मैं? ये थोड़ा
कर
कुछ
दिया
रुक के
मैंने दोस्त,
करते
कर
हैं।
दिया मैंने ना। एक्चुअली दूसरी आईडी पर करना होता है, तो मैंने दूसरी पे किया है। आपसे करवा दी तो फिर मैं इस कौन रोहिणी वाली में करवाती ना।
अच्छा अच्छा, ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है माता जी।
हाँ, लेकिन मैंने दूसरी पे किया खुद से, क्योंकि उसका एक्सेस आप वो पता नहीं कहीं इधर उधर हो गया ना, हो नहीं पाता किसी और से।
ठीक है माता
ठीक है। थैंक यू सो मच, थैंक यू।
जी।
आप ठीक हो?
मैं बढ़िया माता जी।
गुड, थैंक यू।
मैं
हरे
करूंगी
कृष्ण।
कॉल आपको ना शाम को, एक बार फ्री हो गए रात को ना।
ठीक है।
हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
ठीक है, धन्यवाद, नाम हरे कृष्णा।
वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयामुदीरये। अष्टप्रायेषु भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्ते सरस्वते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिय। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। थोड़ा इंटरनेट वीक है, मैं थोड़ा ऑफिस जाके आपको करता हूँ। थोड़ा सा 2 मिनट रुकिएगा, जस्ट 2 मिनट्स। इधर पहुंच के फिर, क्योंकि इंटरनेट बार बार जा रहा है इधर से। इधर आश्रम में मेरा इंटरनेट कनेक्शन ठीक नहीं है। जस्ट 5 मिनट्स में मैं ज्वाइन करता हूँ, ऑफिस भी जा रहा हूँ। हरे कृष्ण। अरे बोल माता जी, आप नजदीक में आ गए तो आता हूँ। ऑफिस में जा होगा, उधर इंटरनेट काम नहीं कर रहा।
महीने का नीतीश का प्रसादी बने।
बराबर है। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। कल हम कौन सा अध्याय किए थे? Which chapter were we in yesterday? Sixth canto.
Chapter 15,
Four-
प्रभु जी आज करें. 14
Chapter
is done yesterday.
we did yesterday.
Chapter 14. No, chapter 15. So, Chitraketu's lamentation. When Chitraketu saw the body of his own son, then he was completely, he could not tolerate and he fainted. Then at that time, Narada also came along with Angira. That is how this chapter ends, the 14th chapter ends. Now begins the 15th chapter. Narada and Angira, both of them, they instruct Chitraketu. So instructions given by Narada and Angira to Chitraketu. 15th chapter, first verse. Sisuka Vacha. Uchaturmritakopante patitam mritakopanam शोकाभिभूतं राजानं बोधयन्तौ सदुक्तिभिः। ऊचतुर्वृतकोपान्ते पतितं वृतकोपनम्. So while Chitraketu he was so much in lamentation, he was lying down like a dead body at the side of a dead body of the sun. Mritakopante patitam mritakopanam. Mritakopanam, upanam means as if he's dead. He's almost like dead. So at that time, Shokabhibhutam Rajanam, the king who was afflicted by Shoka, lamentation, Bodhayanto Saduktibihi, Bodhayanto, Vivachan, both of them, that is Narada and Angira, instructed him about spiritual consciousness in the following way. How they instructed? कोऽयं स्यात् तव राजेन्द्र भवान् यं अनुशोचति त्वं चास्य कथमः सृष्टौ पुरेदानीम् अतः परम्. So they start describing. He said that को अयं स्यात् तव राजेन्द्र भवान् यम अनुशोचति तस्य त्वां चास्य कथमः सृष्टौ पुरेजानीम् अतः परम्. Now tell me, what relation does this dead body for which you are lamenting have with you? What relation do you have with him? Who is who in your previous birth, the birth and a future birth, this birth and a future birth. Now the question is like this: who is he in relation to you? No, he's my son. Acha. If that is the case, that he is your son, hmm, if that is true, ah, hmm, he is my son, that is what you are thinking. But what are you for him? No, I am his father. So in the previous birth, now or in the next birth, who is who? So somebody may say that what about the previous life? Was he your son? Were you his father? Hmm? Next birth, what is about it? Who is who? Uh, somebody may have a relationship with a son in the previous birth, and the death they are separated from the son. In the present son, they are the sons of the person, the same person, or maybe other person. So in other life also, uh, they become wife, enemies, friends of the same person. When you say this boy is my son, what about the previous life? Was he your son? Okay, tell me in the next life, do you think this your son will be your son only? Maybe he may be your enemy, who knows? So they are instructing Chitraketu about jnana. He's lamenting and this they are giving knowledge. Yatha prayanti samyanti Shroto vegena balukaha balukaha samyujyante viyujyante tata kalena dehinaha. Balukaha means sand. When some particles of sand they come together, samyujyante. Sometimes that vimujyante they are separated by the force of the waves. Shroto vegena balukaha. The force of time sometimes brings some jivas together. Sometimes they are separated by the force of time. So sand joins and separates by the force of waves. Like in the ocean, it so happens the wave comes and the wave, it tries to bring two sand particles together. Another wave comes, the two sand particles are divided from each other, separated from each other. In the same way, the wave of time is such a powerful thing that it makes two jivas to come together as father, son, husband, wife, or brother, sister, like that. And after some time, they are separated. They are separated from the same from the union. In this way, you think, oh, I am his son, or I am his father. But time comes, and then the separation happens to such an extent, they are gone. One goes somewhere, other goes somewhere, they don't even remember. यथा दानासु वैदान भवन्ति न भवन्ति च भवन्ति न भवन्ति च एवं भूतानि भूतेषु चोदितानि मायया यथा दाना यथा दानासु वैदाना. Grain. Dana means grain. Dana su Vaidana. Just as grain, they appear and do not appear from the seed. The children appear and do not appear from father. I may not or may not be his father, his son in this birth or another birth. Now you are troubling with such questions. I am experiencing separation from this, suffering from this separation, the object of affection. It is not an offense. The cause is time alone. Kala. Choditani shamayaya. Driven by the time factor, everything happens. Now he says, I did not have a son for a long time. In my old age, I got one son. And the son is born and now is dead. This is suffering for me. Now, among the grain seeds, some produce grains and some do not. Now just see. But they destroyed. Among fathers, some produce sons, some do not produce sons. Though some grains produce, other grains don't produce. They have no relationship as father and son. Thus, there is no lamentation. Why are you lamenting? See, not that everybody becomes father. Though they may get married, they will not produce son. Isn't it? Dana means rains, roasted grains. Just as grains do not raise from roasted grains, sun does not come in persons like you without karma of having something. Driven by Maya, the living entities have sun, enlighten you. I, Angira, became your son through the influence of Maya. Actually, what happened is Angira himself became the son by Maya. He had no karma to have a son, Chitraketu. So this is the point which Angira is speaking. Chitraketu, my dear Chitraketu, roasted grains don't produce another grain. In this way, don't think that you had a son. It is I just manifested as your son so that I can instruct you. Yes, Mataji, question.
Prabhuji,
You can just unmute and ask question. You don't have to raise the electronic hand and all. Just directly do that.
Okay, yes, thank you. Prabhuji, small question,
Yeah.
small and simple question that we have to live like if we are dealing with non-devotees, so and we have to serve them. So, what should be my consciousness that they are the they are a part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna is also reside in their heart as a Paramatma. So I should serve them. So any relation I may have with them, or if there are devotees in the family, so I will think like that they are devotee of Krishna, so I am serving them. Is it the right thinking, Prabhuji? Because as we are reading that I should not have attachment. If I'm taking on my personal application, so I should not have any attachment. Is it? Can you please help?
So, your question is about attachment and detachment, especially when you have devotees at home and if you're non-devotees at home. Now, one thing, bhakti is individual. Your bhakti is for you. So, for your bhakti, whatever is favorable, you have to do. Especially the relatives or those who are living in the family, husband, children, parents, in-laws. You have to serve them irrespective whether they are devotees or non-devotees. Because it is beneficial for your devotion. It is helpful for your bhakti. If they are devotees, even though they are devotees, still they are your father, mother, still they are your father-in-law, mother-in-law, still he is your husband, and still they are children. They are children. They may not be devotees. So you have to play the role of being a wife, daughter, daughter-in-law, mother. When you play the role of being in all these positions perfectly, as much perfection as possible, as best as possible, they love you. When they love you, they will start doing the same thing what you're doing. At least they'll start appreciating what you're doing. So don't think they are devotees or non-devotees. Think that yeah, my husband, my father, my mother, and then serve them. Because by serving them, you can become a better devotee. Now, detachment should be a natural product of bhakti. You cannot artificially act that I am detached. Detachment is an internal mood one has to develop. That is why you should do a very good drama of being a good wife, very good drama of being a good mother, very good drama of being a daughter, do a very good drama of being a daughter-in-law. The better you do the drama, the more you'll get the blessings, the more your bhakti will progress. Got it?
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Next. Vayam cha tvam cha ye che me तुल्यकालश्चराचरः जन्ममृत्योर्यथा पश्चात् प्राणैवम् अधुनापि भो वयं च त्वं च ये च मे तुल्यकालश्चराचरः. Now he addressed the king and said, "O king, both you and we, everything in this world, moving, non-moving, chara, who are situated now, were not together before. Janma mrityu yatha pasyat param naivam adhunapi bho. We were not together before our birth and will not be together after death. We are now even together. We are not even together at the present time. What is it? We are together now. Actually, seeing that not only you should lament for your son, wife, minister, relatives, uh, everybody should lament about, because we are all situated here now at one time. Tulyakalaha. Before our birth, we are not together. After our birth, we will not exist. We will not be together. Even now, we do not exist. These things do not exist in all three phases of time. They cannot be called, cannot be really having some value. Good people, they don't actually value things which are not really valuable. So everything is temporary. Something which is having a temporary nature will not last long. It's as good as not having. For example, if somebody gives you 10 lakh rupees today and says, I'm going to collect tomorrow, to think this 10 lakh rupees is mine is foolishness. It never belongs to you. Something which was not belonging to yesterday, something which will not belong to tomorrow, how can it belong to you now? These are very strong philosophical points. Suppose I give you some 10 lakh rupees today, which was not belonging to yesterday, and I'll tell you tomorrow I'll come and collect it. So to think that this belongs to me is your foolishness. Next. Sixth. भूतैर्भूतानि भूतेशः विजन्तवत् इहन्ति च आत्मा सस्तेर् अस्वत् अस्वतन्त्रैर् अनपेक्षोऽपि बालवत्. See, how does Lord create? He is like Balavat. He's just very indifferent. Child, starts playing with something. In the same way, the Lord, like a child, he creates. Sujati avati hanti cha. How? Atmasishtir aswatantrair anapakshopi balavat. Balavat means like a child. Child's play. The Lord creates, maintains, destroys all living beings. And all these living beings are created by him. Bhutair bhutani bhuteshu. They are created by him. And ultimately they are aswatantrair. They are not independent. So some harsh curse was there on your son. That is why he was born as your son was destroyed. Now you think that, oh, son being born for me is good, and other cursing them is bad. Actually, whatever creation happens, all creation is happening because of the Supreme Lord. He is a father. He maintains through the kings and destroys through the snakes. So sometimes the snake would come and bite a person who would die. A son is born by a father. The father gives birth to the son, and the snake kills the son. Who actually made the father give birth to the child? The Supreme Lord. Who made the snake come and bite and kill the person? It is the same Supreme Lord. So it is a play of the Supreme Lord. Chitraketu, when the son is born, it is not you who gave birth to the son. It is the Supreme Lord who gave birth to the son through you. The Supreme Lord who made the son die by poison.
Prabhuji, can I ask one question?
Yes, yes, yes.
Prabhuji, does it mean like कि अगर किसी को ऐसा पता चल जाएगा, then why one will go into the family life? If
So
somebody,
after going into the family, पता लगेगा तो वो problem है. Problem वो है. Why one will go to the family life? वो तो अभी हो गया, अभी क्या करे बताओ. समस्या वो है. If somebody is not married, then ये सुन के कोई विवाह ही नहीं करेगा.
yes, yes. So
Nobody get married only.
Yes, yes, yes. Same. I was thinking that before marriage, a person if comes to know about all this, the person will not go into family
Yeah,
life.
you should give a class on this to the youth forum, boys, not the girls at least. We'll invite you for our boys program, and then you tell. See, when you tell, they have some value for it. When we tell, we don't. They think, "Arey, the काम यही है." They want us to be like them, like that. Yeah, true actually.
And
Okay. So, Atmashritaihi. All beings are created by the Lord and dependent on Him, totally dependent on Him. Sometimes one seed, if you put it, it, it grows into the plant, other doesn't. Sometimes the father gives birth and is expecting the son will live eternally, but so birth and death is totally controlled with Supreme Lord. So why the Lord does this thing? He should be happy within himself. No, he's Atma Rama. Why does he create living entities? Is all his Leela. He is indifferent. Anapekshopi balavat. Anapekshakaha. Anapeksha means he is indifferent. Like a boys play. They play and make a house in the beach with the sand. The same boy, after doing that hard work of building a nice house, he destroys it. Like a play. Supreme Lord does the same thing. Seventh verse. देहेन देहिनो राजन् देहात् देहो विजायते बीजादेव यथा बीजं देह्यर्थ इव शाश्वतः देहेन देहिनो राजन् देहेन देहिनो राजन् just as one seed, just from one seed another seed is generated. Deha deho bijayate bijadeva yatha bijam. If you put one mango seed, it gives rise to a tree. From tree you get many mango seeds. So seed from one seed another seed come, or another many seeds come. So by the body of a father, another body, a son is produced through the body of mother. Now, hey, what you produce was the body, isn't it? From your mother, from your wife's womb, body came. Body is still there only. Now, why are you crying? If you're really crying, what are we crying for? No, I'm crying for the soul. So if I'm crying for the soul is eternal. Why are you crying then? Why are you crying then? The soul is eternal. The soul is eternal. Now tell me, you're crying for the body or you're crying for the soul? If you're crying for the body, you should not cry because the body is in front of you. If you're crying for the soul, you should not cry. The soul is eternal. Why are you crying? So you should neither cry. What is the use of crying? What you produce, if you think you produce, what you produce was the body, na? The body is still lying in front of you. Because Chitraketu said, Angira, you are speaking too much of philosophy. I also have some philosophy. Yes, I am a father, created by the Lord, produced a son. Now he is dead. It is true, the Lord created the son through me. Now he is dead, that is why I am crying. Yes, by the body of the father, the body of the son is produced through the body of the mother. Just as a seed is born from another seed. Chalo, okay, accepted. Now what you produce was the body, now the body is still there. Why are you crying? No, I am crying because the soul has gone. Oh, the soul has gone. Yes, it is eternal, na? Jiva is eternal, na? And anyhow, it is not produced by you. Why are you crying then? Suppose, for example, somebody gives you money, 10 lakh rupees. And his assistant tomorrow comes and takes the money and goes away. Oh, my money is lost, my money is lost. Arey, money doesn't belong to you, bhai. Ah, if you are crying, oh, I created the body, body is lost. The body is not lost, body is in front only. Why are you crying for? You are crying for something which is in front of you and say, I lost. And you are crying for something which is lost, which never belonged to you. No, no, no. The soul is in the body. The soul has left the body, its partner. Body is a partner of the soul. So, since soul is part of the body, the soul should also be temporary, no? No. For that he says, Deha Dehi Vibhago Yam Aviveka Krita Pura Jati Vyakti Vibhago Yam Yatha Vastu Nikalpitaha. There are some divisions of the body and soul. With mutual dependence are imagined because of beginningless ego. People think the body and soul are interdependent with each other. Since body and soul are interdependent on each other, body is also temporary and soul is also temporary. It is wrong. It is a wrong understanding. Just because the body and soul are interdependent on each other, you think both are the same category. It is wrong because soul is independent. It is because the soul, the body is able to do all its functions. So, this is how they explain a wrong, they explain the philosophy of why not to lament. Like Krishna also says the same thing to Arjuna, why not to lament. So, very philosophical uh, points being spoken in this particular section by Angira and Narada. Together they are speaking to Chitraketu, and this Chitraketu is lamenting like anything. Please read the purport to the 16th verse. No, sorry. The 8th verse. Somebody read the purport to the 8th verse.
I will keep to 7th or 8th, Guruji.
Eighth, Mataji.
8.
Actually, there are two energies, material and spiritual. Both of them are ever existing because they are emanations from the eternal truth, the Supreme Lord. Because the individual soul, the individual living entity, has died to act in forgetfulness of his original identity since time immemorial. He is accepting different position in the material bodies and being designated according to the many divisions of nationality, community, society, species, and so on. Right.
So, two energies, uh, they seem to be interdependent, but actually, superior energy is controlling the material energy or inferior energy. In this way, the body seems to be dependent on the soul, but there is a distinction, and the soul seems to be dependent on the body, but there is a distinction between them. Okay. Next. Sukha, uh, Sukha Sukadeva Goswami says, Evam Ashwasito Raja Chitraketurdijoktibhi Vimrujya Panina Vaktram Adimalan La Adi Nanam Abhasata. Okay. So, Evam Ashwasito Raja Chitraketurdijoktibhi Vimrujya Panina Vaktram. So, being pacified by instructions of Narada and Angira, King Chitraketu, wiping his face with his hands, the king began to speak. So, what did the king say? Ko yuam jana sampanno mahitto cha mahiyasam avadhutena veshena Godaviva Samagato. Kau Yuan Jnana Sampanno. You too, Yuan. Jnana Sampanno. You are filled with knowledge. Mahitso cha Mahiyasam. You are great personality. And now, Avadhutena Veshena Gura Iha Samagato. You have come here in the dress of Avadhuta. Actually, both were sages, but they had dressed like mendicants, means like those who are bhiksha, just to conceal their identity. Charantihi avanokamam brahmana bhagavat priya madrisham gramya buddhiram go gayano mataling ginaha charanti avanokamam charanti brahmana bhagavat priya. Brahmanas, your Brahmanas, your Bhagavat Priya, your Vaishnavas, those who are dear to the Lord, dear servants of the Lord. And you are Madrasham Gramya Buddhi Ram. You are dressed like a madman. And what are you doing? Charantihi Avano Kamam. Charanti Avanaha. You are moving around the earth. But what is the purpose? Bodhaya Yonmattaha. Bodhaya Unmattaha. Unmatta means those who are married people. Bodhaya. Bodhaya means to enlighten, to give knowledge. So you people go around for this one purpose, to enlighten those who are ignorant. Hmm. And he gives a list of all the sages. Kumaro, Narador, Ribhu, Angira, Devarosita, Avantaratmana, Vyaso, Markandeyota, Gautama, Vasishto, Bhagavan Ramaha, Pulo, Kapilo, Badarayana, Badarayana, Durvasa, Yajnavalkya, Jaduk, Jaduk, Mastataruni, Romascha, Chavano, Datta, Sure, Patanjali, Rishirveda, Shiradomyo, Muni Panchashikadata, Hiranyanaಭಕ್ತೌಷಲ್ಯ ಧೃತದೇವ ನೃತ್ಯಧ್ವಜ ಏತೆ ಪರೇ ಚ ಸಿದ್ಧೇ ಚ ಚರಂತಿ ಜನಹೇತವಃ. So not only you both, I am giving a list of all the sages. And these sages, charanti, they go around the world with only one purpose. But what is that one purpose? That one purpose is just to preach Krishna consciousness. Next. Sorry, some important phone call had come. So all the sages, the whole purpose of all these sages is to go around and then uh, preach Krishna consciousness. So please read the purport of 12 to 15.
The word Jnana Hetava is very significant because great personalities like those listed in these verses wander on the surface of the globe not to mislead the populace but to distribute real knowledge. Without this knowledge, human life is wasted. A human form of life is meant for realization of one's relationship with Krishna or God. One who lacks this knowledge is categorized among the animals. The Lord Himself says in Bhagavad Gita 7.15, न माम दुष्कृतिनो मूढ़ा प्रपद्यन्ते पराधर्मा माययापहर्त नराधमा माययापहृत ज्ञान आसुरम भावम आश्रितः. Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of demons, do not surrender unto me. Ignorance is the bodily conception of life. Yasyatma buddhi kunape tri dhatuke sa eva go khara. Practically everyone throughout the universe, especially on this planet, Bhuloka, thinks that there is no separate existence of the body and soul, and therefore no need of self realization. But that is not a fact. Therefore, all the Brahmanas listed here, being devotees, travel all over the world to awaken Krishna consciousness in the hearts of such foolish materialists. The acharyas mentioned in these verses are described in the Mahabharata. The word Panchashika is also important. One who is liberated from the conceptions of Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, and Anandamaya, and who is perfectly aware of the subtle coverings of the soul is called Panchashikha. According to the statements of the Mahabharata, Shanti Parva, chapter 218 to 219, an Acharya named Panchashikha took birth in the family of Maharaja Janaka, the ruler of Mithila. The Sankhya philosophers accept Panchashikhacharya as one of them. Real knowledge pertains to the living entity dwelling within the body. Unfortunately, because of ignorance, the living entity identifies himself with the body and therefore feels pleasure and pain.
Yeah. Next. So tasmat tasmad yuvam ramya pashot mama mudhariya prabhu ante tamasi magnasya ज्ञानदीपा उदीर्यताम्. So now, Tasmad Yuvam Gramya Pashor Mama Muda Dhiya Prabhu. That is why we are Muda Dhiya Pashu. We are foolish people and like Pashu, farm animals. Now, Ande Tamasi Magnasya, I'm drowning in the darkness of ignorance. I'm drowning in this darkness of ignorance. Tasmad Yuvam Gramya Pashor Mama Muda Dhiya Prabhu. So give the knowledge. Jnanadeepa Udiryatam. Give that knowledge by which we can get out of this ignorance. And we are we are what? We are animals. Then Shri Angira Uvacha. Angira, he starts speaking. Aham te putra kamasya पुत्रदोऽस्मिङ्गीर नृप एष ब्रह्मा सुतः साक्षान् नारदो भगवान् ऋषिः अहं च ते पुत्र कामस्य. Oh, Angira said, O king, I am the giver of the son to you. Te putra kamasya. You desired a son, I gave. And this is Narada, the great sage, son of Brahma. Ittam tvam putra shokena magnam tamasit tustare atad arham anusmritya mahapurusha gocharam anugrahaya bhavatah प्राप्ता आवाम इह प्रभु ब्रह्मणो भगवत भक्तो नावासादितुमर्हसि. इत्थं त्वां पुत्रशोकेन इत्थं त्वां पुत्रशोकेन मग्नं तमसि दुस्तरे अतद् अहम् अनुस्मृत्य महापुरुषगोचरम्. Remembering you, you are drowning in this ignorance because of sorrow for your son. And who can recognize great devotees? We have come here to give mercy to you. You see, Brahmano Bhagavad Bhakto Navasaditum Arhati. One should not lament because you're a devotee of the Lord and you serve the Brahmanas. Those who serve the Brahmanas and those who are devotees, they should not lament. So this kind of lamentation is not good for you.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. Hare Krishna.
Hmm. 18-19 का परपोर्ट पढ़ लिया आपने? पढ़िए.
Several words in this verse are very important. These words Mahapurusha refers the advanced devotees and also to the Supreme Personality of the Godhead. Maha means the Supreme, the Purusha means person. One who always engages in the service of the Supreme Lord is called Mahapurushika. Sukdev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit are sometimes addressed as Mahapurushika. A devotee should always aspire to engage in the service of advanced devotees, as Shri Narottam Das Thakur has sung. Tandera charan sevi bhakt sanivas, janme janme hai ei abhilas. A devotee should always aspire to live in the association of advanced devotees and engage in the service of the Lord through the parampara system. One should serve the mission of the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the instructions of the great Goswamis of the Vrindavan. This is called Tandera Charan Sevi. While serving the lotus feet of the Goswamis, one should live in the association of the devotees. Bhakta Sanevas. This is the business of a devotee. A devotee should not aspire for the material profit or lament for the material loss. When Angira Rishi and the Narada saw that Maharaja Chitraketu, an advanced devotee, has fallen in the darkness of the ignorance and was lamenting for the material body of his son, by their causeless mercy, they came to advise him so that he could be saved from this ignorance. Another significant word is Brahmanaya. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is sometimes addressed by the prayer Namo Brahmanaya Devaya, which offers obeisances unto the Lord because he is served by the devotees. Therefore, this verse states, Brahmanayo Bhagavat Bhakto Navas Siddhitum Arhasi. This is the symptom of an advanced devotee. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma. For a devotee, an advanced, self-realized soul, there is no cause of material jubilation or lamentation. He is always transcendental to conditional life. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, you wanted to ask question as well?
Yes.
At that time, you are not qualified. Tadeva te param jnanam dadami griham agata. Gyatva abhinivesham te putrameva dadamyaham. I would have given knowledge to you when I came first. But when I came, I saw your abhinivesha. You are absorbed so much in material desire of having a son. That is why I just give a son to you. Dadami. I should have given him knowledge to you, but I gave son because you're not qualified at the time. One who is too much engrossed in material things, very difficult.
Hare Krishna, Guruji.
Hare Krishna.
Can I ask question?
Yes, yes, please.
Guruji, when we are deeply hurt or we are in pain, or then that time philosophy doesn't work. So
Two situations, philosophy doesn't work. When somewhere too much of desire, I just cannot live without at that time. Number two, when you're in too much of pain, philosophy doesn't work. What works is counseling. That's why we require more counselors than philosophers. At that time, you just have to hear. Then after some time, the situation bind up versus that, then he can accept. That's the thing. Okay, got it. So what's required is counselors, mentors, mothers. Then philosophy can be spread. Otherwise, it's very difficult. Next, 20. Ah, 21st verse. 21st, 23. 1 minute. Where did it go? Yeah. अधुना पुत्रिणां तापो भवतैवानुभूयते एवं दारागृहारायो विवेद्धश्चैश्वर्य संपदा शब्दाद्यश्च विषयाश्चलाराज्य विभूतयः महीराज्यं बलं कोशो भृत्यामात्य सुहृज्जना सर्वेऽपि शुश्रूषणे मे शोकमोहाभयार्तिदा गन्धर्वा नगरप्रख्या स्वप्नमाया मनोरथा aduna putrinam tapa. Now you are experiencing tapa, pain of a parent. Now bhavati vanubhuyate evam dara griha rayo. Okay, your wife, house, wealth, the kingdom, and all the vividha ishwarya sampada, vividha ishwarya sampada, so many opulences. Shabdadayascha vishaya, object of senses. Chala rajya vibhutayaha, your rajya ruling all that land. They're all the powers of ruling are all what? Chala, temporary. Mahi, rajyam, balang, kosho, kingdom, military power, treasures. Bhritya, amatya, servants, as of ministers. Sujara, your friends. Sarvepi shushushame. All the cause of shoka, moha, vayartitaha. Everything what you have in this world around you is all just for the purpose, only one purpose is what? Illusion, lamentation, distress. Shoka, moha, bhayartitaha. Gandharva, nagara, prakyaha. All these things, Gandharva Nagara, they're all like false, like city, Gandharva city, in a dream. Swapnamaya Manoratha. They're all temporary. They're all like sapna. One perceives a dream of object as false, and waking up from the dream, he sees it's not there. Okay. So next, you can read the purport also. It's nice purport. Read the purport. Nice purport.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. This verse, this verse describes the entanglement of material existence. In material existence, the living entity possesses many things: the material body, children, wife, and so on. Deha patya kalatra dishu. One may think that these will give him protection, but that is impossible. In spite of all these possessions, the spirit soul has to give up his present situation and accept another. The next situation may be unfavorable, but even if it is favorable, one must give it up and again accept another body. In this way, one's tribulation and material existence continues. A sane man should be perfectly aware that these things will never be able to give him happiness. One must be situated in his spiritual identity and eternally serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead as a devotee. Angira Rishi and Narada Muni gave this instruction to Maharaj Chitraketu.
Okay. 25th. Ayam hi dehido deho dravyajnana kriyatmaka dehino klesha santapa kridudahitaha. Ayam hi dehino deho dravyajnana kriyatmakaha. The body of the jiva, ayam hi dehino dehaha. Body of the jiva is composed of what? Dravya jnana kriyatmakaha. It has got dravya, organs, and there is jnana and kriyatmakaha, senses. They are sense. And dehino vivida klesha santapa krid udahrataha. We said that the body gives so many types of sufferings and pain to the jiva. Attachment to the body is the cause of suffering. Now, after describing how attachment to the body is cause of suffering, identification with the body is actually the root cause of suffering. So, one is to think, oh, this is my body, that gives suffering. And other thing is to think that I am this body, that gives more suffering. Tasmat, read the purport, 25th.
In the fifth canto, canto 5th, chapter 5th, verse 4, while instructing his sons, Rishabdev said, Asan api kaleshta asa is a cause of all miseries of material existence. As already discussed in the previous verse, the entire material creation is based on mental concoction. The mind sometimes induces us to think that if we purchase an automobile, we can enjoy the physical elements such as earth, water, air, and fire combined in the form of iron, plastic, coal, and so on. Working with the 5 material elements, Panchbhutas, as well as with our 5 knowledgeable gathering senses like the eyes, ears, and tongue, and our 5 active senses like the hands and legs, we become involved in the material condition. Thus, we are subjected to the tribulation known as Adhyatmika, Adidevika, and Adibodhika. The mind is the mind
all these things. As soon as the material object is struck, however, the mind is affected and we suffer. For example, sorry, for e- uh, For example, with the material elements, the working senses, and the knowledge gathering senses, we create a very nice car. And when the car is accidentally smashed in a collision, the mind suffers, and through the mind, the living entity suffers. So, the fact is that the living entity, while concocting with the mind, creates the material condition. Because matter is destructible to the material condition, the living entity suffers. Otherwise, the living entity is detached from all the material conditions. When one comes to the Brahman platform, the platform of the spiritual life, fully understanding that he is a spiritual soul, Aham Brahmasmi, he is no longer affected by lamentation and hankering. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Bhuta Basanatma Nashuchti Nakansh. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. Elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita 15.7, the Lord says, Mama Mame Vanshu Jivaloke Jivbhutah Sanatanaha Manah Shasthani Indriyani Prakritisthani Karashyati. The living entity, the living entities in this conditioned world are my frontal parts. Due to the conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. The living entity is actually part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is unaffected by material conditions. But because the mind, manaha, is affected, the senses are affected, and the living entity struggles for the existence within this material world.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Uh,
Sir. Yeah.
Prabhuji, I think we missed the verse number 24. We didn't read it.
Is it?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Yes, yes. 24. दृश्यात्मना विनार्थेन न दर्शन्ते मनोभव कर्मभिर्ध्यायतो नाना कर्माणि मनसो भवन् दृश्यमाना विना विनार्थेन न दृश्यन्ते मनोभव. Imaginary objects seen in the absence of the real objects are not seen when waking up from dream. So when you wake up from dream, these objects are not seen. And they're all products of the mind. They're all products of the mind. So karmabir dhyayato nana karmani manaso bhavan. So actions for these karmabir dhyayato nana. Actions for attaining objects for a person meditating on the objects because of impression of karma are also made by the mind. So two things are made by the mind. In the dream, something is made by the mind. And also if you see that Visible objects of wife, children, property are all dreams. Mental Actually, what we see has no permanent existence. It is sometimes seen and sometimes not. Only because of our past actions do we create such mental concoctions, and because of these concoctions, we perform further activities. Read the purport, 24.
Everything material is a mental concoction because it is sometimes visible and sometimes not. At night, when we dream of tigers and snakes, they are not actually present, but we are afraid because we are affected by what we envision is our dreams. In our dreams, everything material is like a dream because it actually has no permanent existence. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes as follows in his commentary: Arthina Vyagraha Sarpadina Vinaiva दृश्यमानः स्वप्नादि भंगे सति न दृश्यन्ते तद एवं दारादयो वास्तववस्तु भूतः स्वप्नादयो वस्तुभूताश्च सर्वे मनोभवा मनोवासा वासना जन्यत्वान् मनोभवा मनोभावः. At night, one dreams of tigers and snakes, and while dreaming, he actually sees them. But as soon as the dream is broken, they no longer exist. Similarly, the material world is a creation of our mental concoctions. We have come to this material world to enjoy material resources, and by mental concoctions, we discover many objects of enjoyment because our minds are absorbed in material things. This is why we receive various bodies. According to our mental concoctions, we work in various ways, desiring various achievements, and by nature and the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Karmana Daiva Netrena, we get the advantages we desire. Thus, we become more and more involved with material concoctions. This is the reason for our suffering in the material world. By one kind of activity, we create another, and they are all products of our mental concoctions. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. 26. तस्मात् स्वस्तेन मनसा विमृश्य गतिमात्मनः द्वैते दुर्वार्तविश्रम्भम् त्यजोपशमनम् आविश्य. Therefore, tasmat means that is why. Therefore, what you're supposed to do? Considering the mind, within the mind, you make it strong. You make the mind strong and find the truth of the soul. And then give up the faith in the temporary objects. Because this duality is going to make you suffer like anything. Tyajopashamanam avishya. So take shelter of detachment. Undisturbed mind only can give you the knowledge of the soul. Give up faith or affection about these temporary things. Avishya, take shelter of the soul, of detachment. Sri Narada Vacha. Etam mantropanishadam praticha prayato mama yam dharayan satta ratrat drashta sankarshanam vibhum. Edan mantropanishadam. Narada says, now take a mantra for me. And the mantra is what? Mantropanishadam. It is entire, all Upanishads are in that mantra. Meditate on that mantra. Praticha prayato mama. Yam dharayan saptaratrat. Meditating for 7 nights. If you do that, Drashta Sankarshanam Vibhum. You will directly have Darshanam Sankarshana. Narada says, I am going to give you a mantra. By chanting for 7 nights, you will have darshan of Sankarshana. Then, 28th. Yat padamulam upashityan narendra purve sarvatyo brahmanam idam ditiyam visrujya satyastadiyam atulandakam mahitvam प्राप्तुर्भवाम् अपि परं न चिरात् सुपेति यत्पादमूलम् उपसृष्य नरेन्द्र पूर्वे. He says, my dear king, in the previous days, Shiva and other devatas, yatpadamulam upasृष्य narendra purve. Purve means in the past. Sarvadayo bhamam idam ditiyam visrujya. All the devatas, they took shelter of Sankarshan. And by doing so, what happened? They became free from all duality. And then achieved unequaled and unsurpassed glory. And the same way you are also good. Praptur bhavanapi. Bhavanapi you also. Param nachiradupaiti. You will also attain the same glory. So I am going to give you this mantra, which is very special. By doing so, you will also attain the same position which Lord Shiva and many demigods attained it. That is going beyond all duality. So you had chapter number 16. We'll do this few verses at least after a small break. It is 5:10 now. Then or we'll do it next week. Next Saturday is a festival. Snana Yatra. Next Saturday is Snana Yatra. Isn't it? That is Jagannath festival. So, okay. Let's see, I got morning class and then get 3 more chapters. 16, 17, 18. Oh, we have 4 more chapters. 16, 17, 18, 19. Cha. Okay, we have to do 16 today somehow. Okay, we'll be back in say 15 minutes. Okay, take 20 minutes break. 5:30. We're back at 5:30. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So 16th chapter, Sri Badarayan Ruvacha, Sukadeva Goswami speaking. Atha Deva Rishirajan Samparetam Ripatmajam Darshaitvedi Ovacha Jnatinam Anusochatam. So Atha Devarshi Rajan, Narada, what did he do? Samparetam Nripatmajam, the son of Nripa, the king, Chitraketu, Samparetam, he dead, he is dead. What did he do? Darshaitvedi Hovacha Jnati Nam Anusochatam. So, then Narada brought the dead son into vision of all the lamenting relatives and when he spoke. Then spoke as follows. Narada said, Jivatman Pashya Badram Te. You see your son? Jivatman Pashya Badram Te. All fortune unto you, Badram Te. Mataram Pitaram Chate. He addressed the living entity. Just see, Pasha, all of you see the son, and he told the son, see your father, see your mother. Surudo Bandhavas Sapta. See your friends, see your relatives. Shaucha Tritaya Brisham. All your friends and relatives are overwhelmed with grief because of you passing away. You passed away. Because of that, everybody is in great lamentation, great grief. They are suffering. Kalevaram swam avishya shesham ayusurudvrita bhungshva bhogan pitripratan adhishta nripashanam. So you please enter your body. Kalevaram swam avishya. You enter your body. Shesham ayu surud vritaha. So this body is now surrounded by your friends and relatives. Bhungshva bhogan pitri pratan. Now accept this, your father's throne, royal throne, and all the enjoyments given by your father. Adhishtati nipasanam. Nipasanam, sit on the throne, enjoy. Narada is actually fooling the king. Actually, he did not have a reminder to live. It's actually illusory thing Narada created. So then the jiva starts speaking from the body. Jiva Uvacha. Actually, what happened was Narada himself entered the body of the kid, of the boy. And then he's speaking through the child. Jantru Vacha. Kasmin janmanani mahyam pitaro mataro bhavan karma ve tamman भ्राम्यमाना मानस्य देवतव्यं नृ योनिषु. So I've been entering. तस्मिन् जन्मनि अमि अमि मह्यम् कर्मभिर् भ्राम्यमानस्य. Because of my karma, I've been wandering in the womb of sometimes Deva, sometimes Devatas, sometimes animals, sometimes humans. Devatiryan nida yonishu. Now you are telling, I am your father, I am your mother. You tell me, in which birth were you my parents? Just imagine the son telling the father, my dear father, I have many fathers and many mothers. In which birth were you my father? बन्धुज्ञात्यति मध्यस्थ मित्रोदासीन विद्विषः सर्व एव हि सर्वेषां भवन्ति क्रमशो मितः. See, बन्धुज्ञाति ari madhyastha. See, मित्रोदासीन विद्विषः सर्व एव हि सर्वेषां भवन्ति क्रमशो मितः. 1 person becomes a relative through marriage. A relative of one's father sometimes becomes enemy. Sometimes it becomes a false friend. Mitrodasina vidvishaha. Sometimes it becomes a well-wisher. Sometimes becomes indifferent, madhyastha. Sometimes envious, in different births. Now you are seeing me as son, and when I died, you are crying. Now, why don't you see me as an enemy and be happy? You are seeing me as a son and you're crying. If you see me as an enemy, then you'll laugh. You'll be happy. So sometimes I become your son, sometimes I become your enemy, sometimes I become your madhyastha, sometimes I become neither friend nor inimical to you. Udis udasina. Sometimes I become vidveshaha. You cannot tolerate my superiority. All these things are there. You are just becoming sorrow because you're thinking I am your son. If you think I'm your enemy, then you'll be happy seeing my dead body. Read the purport.
In our practical experience in this material world, that the same person who is one's friend today becomes one's enemy tomorrow. Our relationships as friends or enemies, family men or outsiders are actually the result of our different dealings. Chitraketu Maharaj was lamenting for his son, who was now dead, but he could have considered the situation otherwise. This living entity, he could have thought, was my enemy in my last life, and now, having appeared as my son, he is prematurely leaving just to give me pain and agony. Why should he not consider his dead son his former enemy and instead of lamenting, be jubilant because of an enemy's death? As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.27, Vakatiya Kriyamanani Gune Karmani Sarvashaha. Factually, everything is happening because of our association with the modes of material nature. Therefore, One who is my friend today in association with a mode of goodness may be my enemy tomorrow in association with the modes of passion and ignorance. As the modes of material nature work in illusion, we accept others as friends, enemies, sons, or fathers in terms of the reactions of different dealings under different conditions.
Sometimes even the same life. You love your son, you love your son so much. And in the same life, the son behaves very awkwardly, crookedly. He gets married to some other girl, not according to your own choice, father's choice. Then the father says, "You are my enemy." You see, in wild life itself, it happens. You say, my son, and again you see he is my enemy. It's all mental concoction, isn't it? That is how speaking. यथा वस्तूनि पन्यानि हेमादीनि ततस्तदा पर्यटन् पर्यटन्ति नरेष्वेवं जीवो योनिषु कर्तृषु. You see, yatha vastuni panyani. Vastu means commodities, articles. Panyani means coins, notes. It passes from one person to other person. Somebody buys a car and then he sells to other person second-hand car. And hemadini tatastata. And also the hema means gold. They also pass to one from one person to other person. Today you have a 500 rupee note. Tomorrow when you buy something, it goes to some other hand, isn't it? In the same way, Jiva also passes through various wombs. Today you have a 500 rupee note, this is mine. And tomorrow when you go and purchase something from market, that 500 rupees it goes somebody's hand and says mine. And in the same way, Jiva passes through so many. Gold coins in an enemy's house are the cause of the murder. By chance, the same gold coin comes to your own house and becomes object of affection that used for enjoyment. Just see. One gold coin is somebody's house, enemy's house. Gold coin in an enemy's house. And that becomes the cause of death of the person. And the same coin comes to your house, you say, "Oh, wonderful, so nice, I've got my gold coin," isn't it? The same way, Jiva enters into the womb of so many different species. Why? Nityasyarthasya sambandho hi anityo drishyate nashu yavat yasya hi sambandho mamatvam tavadevahi. Nityasyarthasya sambandho. It is seen, it has been seen that relationship of one object with many people are temporary. Yavat yasya hi sambandho. As long as one has relationship with Ras, one has possession of the object. See, sometime, okay, for some time I was son of Chitraketu. For that time, you have affection for me. Afterwards, I'll become son of somebody else. Then that person will have affection for me. So, as the coin goes from one person's hand to other person's hand in the day during the trading, in the same way, when the jiva passes from one body to another body, everybody thinks, "Oh, mine, 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 mine." For some time it belongs to you, sometimes it belongs to somebody else. In this way, relationship is so temporary in this world. Evam yonigato jiva sanityo nirahankritah yavad yatropalabdhyeta tavat svatma tasya tat tasya tat. See, when the jiva enters the body, the jiva has no material identity. Evam yoni gato jiva sanityo nirahankrita. The jiva has no ahankara. Ahankrita means identity. When the jiva enters the body, then it says, I am boy, I am girl, I am man. All these identifications are because of the body. The jiva has no identification. Now you are saying, my dear son, don't you see that you are my son? No, this is not my identity because I was in other body also. In the other body, I was not your son. So this nirankrataha yavat yatropalabdhyeta, as long as the jiva stays in the body, the identity stays. So as long as I was in that body, which is produced by you, then I am your son. Once I go to another body, I am not your son anymore. Now, if you call me my son, my son, my son, no, I am not in this body anymore. How can I be your son? Read the purport. Read the purport.
Yes. As explained in the previous verse, text 10
No,
purport.
8.
Okay, sorry. Page जो है वो गलत हो गया. Yes, sir. When the living entity lives within the material body, he falsely thinks that he is the body, although actually he is not. His relationship with his body and his so-called father and mother are false, illusory conceptions. These illusions continue as long as one is not enlightened about the situation of the living entity.
Next. येष नित्यो व्ययसूक्ष्म एष सर्वाश्रयत् स्वदृक् आत्ममाया गुणैर्विश्वम् आत्मानं सृजते प्रभु. येष नित्यो व्ययसूक्ष्म एष सर्वाश्रयः सर्वदृक् आत्ममाया गुणैर्विश्वम् आत्मानं सृजते प्रभु. The Lord is eternal. Esha nityaha. Avyayaha. It doesn't have any change. Sukshmaha is beyond perception. He is subtle. Esha sarvashraya. He is a shelter of everyone, everything. Sadrik. He is self-manifesting. Atmamaya gunair vishwam. He creates this world through his Atmamaya, through his material energy. Atmanam Srijate Prabhu, through his gunas. So now, this jiva is dependent. He just goes from one body to another body, one body to another body. That means he's not independent. That means somebody is controlling. Who is that controller? I'll tell you. Jiva is covered by Maya. The Lord is invisible. Though he can also be seen, but is invisible. His speaker is Angira Rishi. Not covered by Maya, is Jivan Mukta. But he is describing what is the Supreme Lord. The Jiva has been described by two terms, not common to the Lord: dependent and without control, powerless. Isn't it? Because the Lord creates this world, the Lord world is described as himself because the world is the manifestation of the energy of Krishna. Atmanam Srijate Prabhu. So in this way, the world is not different from Krishna because the world is created by energy of Krishna. Read the purport, ninth purport.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. In this verse, the philosophy of Achintya Bheda, simultaneous oneness and difference is described. The living entity is eternal, Nitya, like the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But the difference is that the Supreme Lord is the greatest. No one being equal to the greater or the greater than him. Whereas the living entity is Sukshama or externally Saman. The Shastra describes that the magnitude of the living entity is one 10,000th of the size of the tip of the hair. The Supreme Lord is all pervading. Anantara stha parman andantarastha parmanu chayantarastham. Relatively, if the living entity is accepted as the smallest, there should be naturally be inquiry about the greatest. The greatest of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the smallest is the living entity. Another peculiar characteristic of the Jiva is that he become covered by Maya. Uh, Atma Maya guna hai. Gune He is prone to being covered by the Supreme Lord's illusory energy. The living entity is responsible for his conditional life in the material world, and therefore he is described as the Prabhu, the master. If he likes, he can come to the material world, and if he likes, he can return home back to Godhead because he wanted to enjoy the material world. The Supreme Personality of Godhead gave him a material body, though the agency through the agency of the material energy. As the Lord himself states in Bhagavad Gita 1861, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridayeshe Arjuna Tishtati. Brahmayam Sarva Bhutani Yatha Rudhani Mayaya. The Supreme Personality is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wandering of all living entities who are seated as on a machine and made of the material energy. The Supreme Lord gives the living entity a chance to enjoy in this material world as he desires, but he openly expresses his own desire that the living entity gives up all the material aspirations, fully surrender unto him, and the return home back to Godhead. The living entity is the smallest, Sukshama. Jiva Goswami says in this connection that the living entity within the body is extremely difficult for the materialistic scientists to find. Although we understand from the authorities that the living entity is within the body. The body is different from the living entity. Hare Krishna.
Now, 10th verse. Nahi अस्यास्ति प्रिय कश्चिन्ना प्रिया स्वरोऽपि वा एकः सर्वज्ञां दृष्टा कर्तॄणां गुणदोषयो. Nahi अस्यास्ति प्रियः कश्चिन्. Nobody is very dear to him. Nor na priyaha swaprabho. The Lord doesn't favor someone and disfavors anyone. He doesn't see that, oh, he is my dear, he is not dear to me. Na priya saparo. Paropiva. He doesn't see, oh, he's my person, this person is that person. Eka swadhyam drashta. He is just vekaha. Sarvadhyam drashta. He is a witness of all the living. Kartranam gunadoshayoho. Who acts as a friend and enemy in relation to them. Kartranam gunadoshayoho. Does not have any, the Lord does not have relations with anyone due to ignorance. He doesn't say, who is my relative, who is my father's side, mother's side, he is my enemy, enemy come as friend now. He doesn't think like that. The Lord is neutral to everyone. But devotee is very dear to him. The Lord considers the devotees to be himself. He shows anger to those who hate devotees and considers them to be enemies and different from him. That is why he says, Samam sarvabhuteshu name dveshasna priya ye bhajanti tamam bhaktya. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mai te teshu chapyaham. To the extent a person worships in devotion, I am attached to him. Though I have no attachment for anyone, but still anybody does bhakti, that is the nature of bhakti, glory of bhakti is that. So, now somebody say, oh, being affectionate to the devotee, is it a fault? No, it's actually ornament. Gunadoshayoho. When a friend or enemy for the benefit or misfortune of someone else. The Lord is a witness of all jivas with various type of intelligence. So he is neither friend nor enemy of him. He is neutral. But still anybody does devotion, the Lord favors him. Anybody goes against the devotee, he becomes, the Lord acts as an enemy to him. So read the purport, 10th verse. Tenth verse.
As explained in the previous verse, the living entity has the same qualities as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he has them in minute quantities because he is a small particle, suksham, whereas the Supreme Lord is all pervading and great. For the Supreme Lord, there are no friends, enemies, or relatives, for he is completely free from all the disqualifications of ignorance that characterize the conditioned souls. On the other hand, he is extremely kind and favorable to his devotees, as he is not at all satisfied with persons who are envious of his devotees, as the Lord himself confirms in Bhagavad Gita 9.9, Samoham sarva bhuteshu na me dvesho sti vina priya ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mai teteshu chapyaham. I and I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone. I am equal to all, but whoever renders service unto me in devotion is a friend, is in me, and I am also a friend to him. The Supreme Lord has no enemy or friend, but he is inclined toward a devotee who always engages in his devotional service. Similarly, elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita 16.19, the Lord says, Tan aham dvishata kruran samsareshu naradhaman Shipamyam Ship Shipamyas Myajasram Ashub Ashub Ashubhan Ashur Ashurishwa Eva Yonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are lowest among men, are cast by me into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. The Lord is extremely antagonistic toward those who are envious of his devotees. To protect his devotees, the Lord sometimes has to kill their enemies. For example, to protect Prahlad Maharaj, the Lord had to kill his enemy, Hiranyakashipu. Although Hiranyakashipu attained salvation because of being killed by the Lord, Since the Lord is the witness of everyone's activity, he witnesses the actions of the enemies of his devotees and he's inclined to punish them. In other cases, however, he simply witnesses that the living entities do and gives the result of one's sinful or pious actions. Hare Krishna.
So, the Lord is just a witness. Like the whole subject matter, the seventh kind of Bhagavatam is this, that is, the Lord is equal to one and all. At the same time, even though he is partial to devotees, but still is impartial. That is the nature of love, nature of bhakti. Na dattvatma hi gunam, na dosham na kriyaphalam, udasinavaddasinah paravaradrikkishwaraha. Na dattvatma hi gunam, na dosham na kriyaphalam. Lord does not recognize others as friend or enemy. Atmahi gunam na dosham na kriyaphalam udasinavadasinam paragvatrik ishwaraha. Neither he has any karmic reaction. He is udasina, he is neutral. He is just a witness of good and bad actions of the jiva. Now we see somebody as friend, somebody as enemy. When we see friend, we become happy. When we see our enemy, becomes unhappy. But Lord is not like that. Lord does not see others as friend or enemy and does not accept reactions for its fact. He is there in everybody's heart. Even the Lord is there in a bad person's heart also. One who does bad actions. He is there in good person's heart also. One who does good actions in his heart also. He is seen to be indifferent. Seems to be indifferent, but actually favors devotees. So he just seems to, but he's not indifferent. So when you surrender by the mercy of devotees, when you become devotee and surrender to Krishna, then you can overcome grief. But for Chitraketu, oh, you are so much in grief and illusion, it's very difficult for you. In this way, Jiva has spoken about Jiva Tattva as well as the Atma Tattva. Both have spoken, and the Supreme Lord. Bhadarayana Ruvacha. Ittudiryagato jivo jnatayas tasya te tada Vishmita mumuchu shokam chitvatma sneha srinkalam. Iti it udiryagato jivo. When Jiva spoke like this, gataha, and then left, Chitraketu and all the relatives, they were completely vismita, astonished. By hearing this, mumuchu shokam, all the shoka got lost. This destroyed shoka. And gave their all shoka by and their affection, sneha, chitvatma sneha shrinkalam. Sneha shrinkalam means affection which they had for the son got destroyed. And they got via and they gave their shoka, lamentation. Nirhritya gyatayo gyatir deham kritto सूचिता क्रिया तत्यजो दुष्ट्यजं स्नेहं शोकमोह भयार्तिदम्. Please read the purport of 13. What translation purport? No.
Prabhuji,
13,
there is only
13 doesn't have
translation in
purport.
13.
13 doesn't have purport.
Translation.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, there is only translation in text 13, verse 13.
Translation, just read the
Yes,
translation.
okay, Prabhuji. After the relatives have had discharged their duties by performing the proper funeral ceremonies and burning the dead child's body, they give up the affection that leads to illusion, lamentation, fear, and pain. Such affection is undoubtedly difficult to give up, but they give it up very easily.
So they could give it up. So they removed the body of the son, performed funeral activities, they gave affection, and the entire funeral is done. Next. बालग्नो व्रीडितास्तत्र बालहत्याहतप्रभा बालहत्यावतं चेरुर्ब्राह्मणैर्यन्निरूपितम् यमुनायां महाराजा स्मरन्त्यो विजभाषितम्. So all the co-wives of Kritadyuti, Vrida, they became very ashamed of killing a child. They lost their bodily, Hata Prabha, body luster was lost. Remembering the words of Angira, so they did atonement for killing the child because they killed. So as directed by the Brahmanas, Brahmaner yen nirupitam Yamunayam Maharaja Samrayanto Vijabhashi. As told by the Brahmanas, they did the rituals. Everyone actually understood wives had killed the child. Because they became very pale, the wife became ashamed and frankly admitted, we have killed the child. Then they performed atonement as directed by the Brahmanas, like Angira. So, atonement of killing a child. Read the purport. 14.
In this verse, the word Bal Hatya Hata Prabha is to be particularly noted. The practice of killing children has existed in human society for a long time, since time immemorial. But in the days of the yore, it was very rarely performed. At the present time, however, in this Kali or in this age of Kali, abortion, killing of the child within the womb has become very common, and sometimes a child is even killed after birth. If a woman performs such an abominable act, she gradually loses all her body luster. Bal hatya hata prabha. It is also to be noted that the ladies who had committed the sinful act of administering poison to the child were very much ashamed, and according to the directions of the Brahmanas, they had to undergo atonement for killing the child. Any woman who has ever performed such an infamously sinful act must atone for it. But no one now is doing that. Under the circumstances, the woman responsibly must suffer in this life and the next. Those who are sincere souls, after hearing this incident, should refrain from such child killing and should atone for their sinful activities by taking to Krishna consciousness very seriously. If one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra without offenses, all of one's sinful actions are surely atoned for immediately. But one should not commit such deed again, for that is an offense.
Yeah. Next. Saitam pratibhudyatma chitraketu dvijoktivihi grihandakupan nishkranta sarvavantadivattipa. So, Saitam Pratibudhyatma, in this way, enlightened by the instruction of Brahmanas, Angira, Narada, and all, Chittaketu emerged from darkness, well of her family life. Grihanda Nishkrantaha, he came out. He came out of that Grihanda Nishkranta, family life, the blind well of family life. How? Sharat Pankhat Ivatipaha, like elephant comes out of mud. The same way he came out of Kalindyam Bidhivat Snatva Krita Punya Jalakriya Maunena Samyata Prano Brahmaputra Avandata. So he took bath in Yamuna according to the rules, Vidhivat, offered obeisances of oblations, Jalakriya, water oblations he did. Maunena, keeping his mind peaceful without speaking. Samyata prano, controlling his prana senses. Brahmaputra avandata. King offered obeisances to both Brahmaputra. Angira and Narada are both Brahmaputras. Atha tasmai prapannaya bhaktya prayatatmane Bhagavan Narada Prito Vidyam Chetam Vachaha. So I was so pleased with Chittaketu. Narada spoke to him. Bhagavan Narado Pritaha Vidyam Etam Vachaha. He spoke Vidya. What did Narada speak? He gave mantra. Om Namastubhyam Bhagavate Vasudevaya Dhimahi Pratyumnaya Niruddhaya Namas Sankarshanaya Cha Namo Vijnanamatraya Paramanandamurtaye Atma Ramaya Shantaya Nivritya Dvaita Drishtaye. So he gave mantra. Namo Bhagavat Namastubhyam Bhagavate. We offer obeisances to the Lord. Vasudevaya Dhimahi. Meditate on Vasudeva. Pradyumna Aniruddha Sankarshana, who is Nama Vijnana Matraya. He is an embodiment of Chit Shakti Vijnana. Spiritual, form is made of spiritual Vijnana. Paramananda Murtaye is full of bliss. And Atma Ramaya, the Lord is blissful within himself. Shantaya, very peaceful. Nivritya Dvaita Drishtaye, he is not attached to the spiritual world. We meditate on you. Why am I meditating on you? Because to please you. All these things are glorifying the Lord, are used for purpose of creating distinction between living in the Supreme Lord. Nine qualities are there in 2 verses, that is 3 verses, 18, 19, and 20. So please read the purport of 1819.
In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that he is Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. In transcendental knowledge, the Lord is addressed as Pranava Omkara, which is a symbolic representation of Lord in sound. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vasudev, who is an expansion of Narayana, expand himself as Pradyuman, Anirudh, and Sankarshan. From Sankarshan comes a second Narayana expansion, and from this Narayana comes further expansions of Vasudev, Pradyuman, Sankarshan, and Anirudh. The Sankarshan in this group is the original cause of the three Purushas, namely Karandakshay Vishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and Shirodakshai Vishnu. Shirodakshai Vishnu is situated in every universe in a special planet called Shwetadvipa. This is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita Anda, Andantara Stha. The word Anda means this universe. Within this universe is a planet called Shwetadvipa, where Shirodakshai Vishnu is situated. From him come all the incarnations within this universe. As confirmed in Brahm Samhita, all these forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are Advaita, non different, and they are also Achyuta, infallible. They do not fall down like the conditioned souls. The ordinary living entity is prone to falling into the clutches of Maya, but the Supreme Lord, in his different incarnations and forms, is Achyuta, infallible. Therefore, his body is different from the material body possessed by the conditioned souls. The word matra is explained in the Medini dictionary as follows: Matra karna vibhushayam vitte mane parikshade. The word matra in its different imports is used to indicate the decoration of the air, possession, respect, and the possessions of a covering, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 2.14. Matra sparshastu konteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada agama payano nityas Tamstitikshasva Bharata. O son of Kunti, the non permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O sign of Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. In the conditioned state of life, the body is used as our dress, and as one needs different dresses during this the summer and winter, we conditioned souls are changing bodies according to our desires. However, because the body of the Supreme Lord is full of knowledge, it needs no covering. The idea that Krishna's body is like ours, in other words, that his body and soul are different, is a misunderstanding. There is no such differences for Krishna because his body is full of knowledge. Here we receive material bodies because of a lack of knowledge, but because Krishna, Vasudeva, is full of knowledge, there is no difference between his body and his soul. Krishna remembers what he said 40 million years ago to the sun god, but an ordinary being cannot remember what he said the day before yesterday. This is the difference between Krishna's body and our body. Therefore, the Lord is addressed as Vijnana Matraya Paramananda Murtaye. Because the Lord's body is full of knowledge, he always enjoys transcendental bliss. Indeed, his very form is Paramananda. This is confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra Anandamayo, Anandamayo Bhyasat. By nature, the Lord is Anandamaya. Whenever we see Krishna, he is always full of Ananda in all circumstances. No one can make him morose. Atma Ramaya. He does not need to search for external enjoyment because he is self sufficient. Shantaya. He has no anxiety. One who has to seek pleasure from other sources is always full of anxiety. Karmis, Gyanis, and Yogis are full of anxiety because they want something, but a devotee does not want anything. He is simply satisfied in the service of the Lord who is fully blissful. Nivrata Dvaita Drishtaye. In our conditioned life, our bodies have different parts, but although Krishna apparently has different bodily parts, no part of his body is different from any other part. Krishna can see with his eyes, and Krishna can see without his eyes. Therefore, in the Shweta Shweta Upanishad, it is said, Pashyat, Pashyat Achakshu. He can see with his hands and legs. He does not need a particular bodily part to perform a particular action. Angani yasya sakalendriya vrittimanti. He can do anything he desires with any part of his body, and therefore he is called Almighty. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. 20th verse. Atmanandanubhutaiva yascha shakturmaye namah Rishikeshaya mahate namaste anantamurtaye. We offer respects to you. Namaste. Anantamurtaye. Having unlimited forms, indestructible form. And Atmanandanubhutyaiva. He is experiencing bliss from himself. Yasta shakturmaye namaha. Who is the control of all senses. Rishikeshaya. Mahate. Unto him I pay my obeisances. After glorifying the Lord with 9 adjectives of the Lord, qualities of the Lord, then he says, 21st verse, Vachasyuparate prapya Vachasyuparate prapya Yayeko manasa saha Anamarupas chinmatra Sovyan mahasat asatpara. Vachasyuparate prapya. The Lord, who is one entity, he has no form he has no material form. And anamarupas chinmatraha. His chinmatra is pure consciousness. And he is a cause of the material world. Unapproachable by words and mind. Vachas suparate prapya yoko manasa saha. So the Lord cannot be approached by neither words or mind. Prapya manasa saha. Impersonal aspect of the Lord is described. Yasmin idam yataschedam tishtatyapyeti jayate. Mayeshi iva vrichatis tasmaite brahmane namaha. We offer obeisances to Parabrahman, Supreme Brahman, from whom Yasmin Nidam Yataschedam, from whom everything manifests, in whom everything enters into, Tishtat Apyeti Jayate, just like earth is the cause of clay pot, and ultimately clay pot is destroyed, becomes earth. Yanna Sprishyanti na vidur Mano Buddhindriya Indriya Sava Antarbahischa Vitatam Vyomyat Vyomavat Tannatosmyaham. So I pay my obeisances, Natosmyaham, to the Lord who is inside and outside, like air. Antarbahischa Vitatam Vyomavat, like he is like mind, air, The mind, intelligence, senses, life force cannot touch him. Now, Dehendriya Prana Manodhiyomi Yadam Shavitta Pracharanti Karmasu Naivanyada Lubhamiva Prataptam Saneshu Tattarshita Prasedame Pradeshameti. Only Dehendriya Pranamano Diyo. Iron has the power to burn when made red hot in association of fire. Body, sense, living force, mind, intelligence, all the merely lump of matter can function in their activities and infuse with a particle of consciousness. Iron cannot burn unless heated by fire. The body, senses cannot act unless favored by Supreme Lord. So it is because of the Supreme Lord we are able to act. Otherwise, please read the purport and we'll stop for today. Into another verse also, verse also.
Red hot iron can burn, it cannot burn the original fire. Therefore, the consciousness of a small particle of Brahman is dependent on the power of the Supreme Brahman. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Matha Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. From me, the conditioned soul receives memory, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The powerful activities comes from the Supreme Lord. And when the Lord withdraws this power, the conditioned soul no longer has energy with which to act through his various senses. The body includes five knowledge, acquiring senses, five active senses, and the mind. But actually, these are merely lumps of matter. For example, the brain is nothing but matter. But when electrified by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the brain can act, just as iron can burn when made red hot by the influence of fire. The brain can act while we are awake or even while we are dreaming. But when we are fast asleep or have independent power with which to act. It cannot act only when favored by the influence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is Brahman or Brahman. This is the way to understand how Supreme Brahman, Krishna, is present everywhere, just as the sunshine is present because the sun god in the sun globe. The Supreme Lord is called Rishikesha. He is the only conductor of the senses. Our senses cannot act. He is the only worker, the only listener, the only active principle or supreme.
Now, till now philosophy was given, now mantra is given. Mantra is like this. Om Namo Bhagavate Mahapurushaya Mahanubhavaya Mahavibhudipataye Sakala Sattva Parivriya Nikarakara Nakamala Kumo Kumutpalopalalita Charanara Vindayugala Parama Parameshtim Namaste. This is how the Gadya is chanted, so don't be surprised about it. It's called Gadya. Gadya means prose. It doesn't have a chanda, means the meter like we have for the other verses. Poetry has meter. Though it doesn't have meter, there's a particular way to chant it also. it's very complicated, as you just have heard. It's not the same way you chant the meter. Dharma, Chetre, Kuru, quite easy. But to do the Gadya, it requires some kind of experience. So there's just a mantra. So mantra meaning and purport, please read. That's all. It's very simple. So just read the translation purport. We'll finish for today.
O transcendental Lord, who are situated in the topmost planet of the spiritual world, your two lotus feet are always massaged by a multitude of the best devotees with their lotus bird hands. You are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, complete in six opulences. You are the Supreme Person mentioned in the Purusha Sukta prayers. You are the most perfect self realized master of all mystic power. Let me offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. It is said that the absolute truth is one, but is manifested in different features as Brahm, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The previous verses describe the Brahma and Paramatma features of the absolute truth. Now, this prayer is offered in Bhakti Yoga to the absolute Supreme Personality, Supreme Person. The words used in this regard are Sakala Satvata Parivrata. The word Satvata means devotees, and Sakala means altogether. The devotees who also have lotus feet serve the lotus feet of the Lord with their lotus hands. The devotees may not be competent to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, and therefore the Lord is addressed as Parmeshthan. He is the Supreme Person, yet he is very kind to the devotees. No one is competent to serve the Lord, but even if a devotee is not competent, the merciful Lord accepts the humble attempt of the devotee.
Yes. We stop here. The Supreme Personality is very kind good. No one is competent to serve the Lord, but even the devotee is not competent, still he accepts the service from them. And to such a Lord, I pay my obeisances. Okay, stop here. So we'll meet next week. I'll tell you the time. The Snanyatra is there. Most probably we'll do the second half of the day. It means from 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock. I'll let you know a couple of days before what is the timing. Okay? Hare Krishna.